Let's talk getting prepared for a 14-day quarantine. I'm Dr. Jolene Brighten, and yes, I am a doctor, but I'm not your doctor. I'm also a mom. So I'm going to be sharing what I'm doing to prepare my family for a 14-day quarantine, and in all reality, we have had this employed since February. And the reason for that is that I wanted to ensure that if my family ended up with symptoms at any point that looked anywhere remotely close to coronavirus, that we could self-quarantine for 14 days and flatten this curve. Now, I am going to be sharing with you a lot of what we are doing personally, but I just want to remind you, you need to consult your doctor before you start any supplements or medications and ensure what is right for you. I also want to say that what I'm sharing here is general information. It is not to be construed as medical advice, and in addition to that, I am not promoting or endorsing any supplement, any treatment, or prevention for coronavirus. So I just want to be really clear. The only thing we know that can prevent coronavirus is not coming into contact with coronavirus. That means staying home if we're sick so we don't spread it to other people, washing our hands, avoiding crowded places, and ensuring the safety of our entire community. At this point, we don't know what is effective in preventing or treating coronavirus, and I am not making any claims that any supplement or medication that I may talk about here is going to be effective in preventing or treating coronavirus. This is simply information only. Might feel a little overkill, but I just really want to make that clear for all of you. It's very important to me that there's transparency and communication now more than ever. So let's hit it. Okay, so first thing, we have our basic medical necessities. So here's the deal. If you don't know this, I'm currently in Puerto Rico. I am on quarantine. The mayor has mandated a 14-day quarantine, and we are in quarantine until March 30th. We are allowed to get medical care, and we are allowed to go pick up groceries, which is great, but that could change at any moment. If we are to leave our house for any other reason, or we are to leave in a group, we can face a $5,000 fine and 6 months in prison. This may seem extreme, it may seem scary, but to me, this, as a doctor, is one of the best things that we can do to ensure the health of our most vulnerable population, which includes not just elderly, but immunocompromised, people who are undergoing chemotherapy, people who are on immunosuppressants, those who have received organ transplants. Immunocompromised people do not always look sick. We don't always know who we can avoid. So with that in mind, I got my family ready in order to stay home for at least a 14-day quarantine. So we, being in Puerto Rico, have to have some essentials, which is things like sunscreen and bug spray. And on our first trip to the grocery, I actually forgot about these things. So take note of your environment and what you need. If you're in a colder environment, your needs may be different. But for us, we need to make sure we don't get sunburns and that we don't get eaten alive by bugs. But in addition to that, we have some handy dandy aloe vera gel in the event that we do have a sunburn. And we also picked up some burn cream in the event that we get burnt on the stove, because that happens. This isn't about being over-prepared and oh my gosh, catastrophic things might happen. But instead what I'm thinking is how can we reduce the burden on healthcare altogether so that the people who absolutely need care get what they need. Now, in addition, you'll see some basic things like hydrogen peroxide. We don't have any isopropyl alcohol. It was completely sold out. And you're gonna notice there's no hand sanitizer here. We were late to the game. We didn't get any hand sanitizer, but you know what we do have? A way to wash our hands, which is what we're doing. And we're home anyways on quarantine, and we have sinks with running water. So we're taking advantage of that. Now, I also got an ACE bandage. I have a small human in my house. He is 7 years old, and in the event that anybody sprains their ankle, I can bandage that. Remember, I'm a doctor, so there's some things that I can do differently than the general public may be able to. Now, at no point should you delay medical care if you need it. If you need medical care, then you need to contact your doctor or you need to go to emergency medical healthcare facilities, whatever that looks like in your area, because I know I'm talking to a global community right now. So just because you have supplies, just because you have supplements, just because you have medications doesn't mean that you should delay medical care. At no point should we delay necessary medical care. But we do all want to take social responsibility for our global community and reduce the burden on our healthcare system. which also means that maybe we're not going to be doing extreme sports or skateboarding or, cycling long distances and things that, if there was an accident, could create strain on the healthcare system. We're not just flattening the curve, but we are ensuring that everybody who needs essential medical care is able to receive that. So some other things that I have on hand. So we've got some tape, and certainly we've got some gauze as well, just in case we need to dress a wound. We also picked up lots of Band-Aids, and if you're Costco, if you shop at Costco or stores like that, then you know that this is how ibuprofen and Neosporin comes. I'm not saying you need to go buy 3 things of Neosporin. This is just how Costco rolls. So I have some Neosporin on hand. Again, I have a child in the house, so I need to be prepared for bumps and scrapes and those kinds of things anyways. And we've also got ibuprofen. It's a good idea to have things on hand, not for that I'm gonna use ibuprofen if we get sick. My husband's actually prone to headaches and migraines, and this is something that works for him. So as we go through these things, these are also things to think about. What do I need if and when something that happens to me normally, that isn't coronavirus, comes up? What do I need to have on hand? And I'll be talking about that as we move on to the supplements that we have. Now, I also picked up some examination gloves, so I have those on hand. Again, I'm a medical professional, CPR trained, and in the event that my small, isolated community, if one of my neighbors reach out and says, I need help, I want to make sure that I'm prepared with some things. You may or may not need these, but they can be really helpful for all kinds of things, not just dealing with medical emergencies, but also just dealing with some things that you might come across in your community, like having to pick up waste. So having gloves on hand is always a good idea. Now, we grabbed some butterfly closures as well. Again, this is like what I keep in my car anyways, because I have a child and I have a husband and we are outdoors and active. So I just want to make sure that you know that like these things are a good idea to have on hand as it is, not in just this event of having to be in quarantine. So that all is to say that worst case scenario, you don't use it now. And honestly, I'd rather you not have to ever use any of this, but like you always have it on hand just in case you need it. Now, we also have some hydrocortisone for when the bugs will inevitably get us, but also if there is anything that's coming up that's causing itching. So if that comes up, we've got some topical treatment here as well. Now I have my 2 medications here. Picked those up in a 90-day supply. Now, I am advising all of my patients, and I'm writing 90-day prescriptions. And the reason for that I'm advising 90-day prescriptions is because I want to ensure that, firstly, my patients have enough medication to make it through a potential quarantine that may happen in their area and may last more than 14 days. I have no reason to say that the quarantine will last more than 14 days. However, if they did get sick after the 14-day quarantine ended, they would need to self-quarantine for 14 days. Now, why I'm authorizing 90-day prescriptions is because I do not want them creating a burden on the pharmacies once we pass quarantine, okay? So if you've got 3 months, that actually reduces burden on the pharmacy and ensures that you have access to the medication that you need. So I went ahead and filled mine, thank you to my doctor, got my 90-day supply so that I am ready to go, and I don't have to travel to the pharmacy. I don't have to be one more person in the pharmacy line. Now, another thing, I'm gonna move on to like what we use when we get sick and what we use on a daily basis. So if you're someone who supplements daily, if you take supplements for any reason and you do that daily, you're gonna wanna think about stocking up for that. When it comes to prenatal, and again, this is not an endorsement. I want to be very, very clear. This is what I have in my house. This is what we utilize. This is not an endorsement for you to purchase my supplements. If you want good guidelines for supplements, go to my website, drbrighten.com, and check out the labels and take those to a store and look at what's on the label and try to match it. But I want to be really, really clear right now that I'm not telling you that the only supplements or what you should be buying are Dr. Brighten supplements. What I'm showing you in this video is what I have in my house. So please do not feel pressured that you have to buy my supplements because that's what you saw in this video. I hope that's super clear. I just don't want anyone to feel pressure at this time. We're gonna be talking about that more as we get to food. So, if you are, pregnant and you're currently on a prenatal, you may want to consider getting at least 30 days to 90 days of your prenatal so that you don't miss out on that supplement. A prenatal, we know, is crucial during pregnancy. So talk to your doctor. It's something worth considering. So in this arena, these are some of the supplements that we take daily as it is, and I want to make sure that my family's stocked so that we have them on hand, but also so that, if something happens with the postal service, that we're not bogging down the system. I'm very much consciously thinking about not bogging down systems that are in place. So I picked up some Mucinex. This is child's Mucinex. I also have adult Mucinex, but I didn't want to set this all up and overwhelm everyone with literally cupboards full of stuff that I have. We have 3 humans in this house, 2 of which have autoimmune conditions. We're a little bit different. But we do pick up Mucinex. Now, this children's Mucinex, you always want to consult your pediatrician before using any medication. We also have Benadryl on hand, and we have an epinephrine pen on hand. And that's because my son has had enough bee sting reactions that he may be edging towards an anaphylactic condition next time he gets stung. So we have an EpiPen on hand, we have Benadryl on hand. Again, this is not coronavirus related. This is just bee related, child related. So what I like about these particular Mucinex, they're mini melts, and I don't work for Mucinex, or I don't even know who makes Mucinex, this particular Mucinex. I could look on here, but that's not the point, right? So what I like about these, they're sachets, they're little packets, they're really great for travel, and my son tolerates them well. He's got some sensory processing issues, so sometimes we just cannot get things in with him. But these Mucinex sachets, I really like them. It helps with cough. It says it right on the box. It's cough, congestion, breaks up mucus. So maybe we'll become infected with coronavirus during this time, or maybe we'll catch the common cold, or maybe we'll get something else that causes congestion. Again, don't be short-sighted and only prepare if you get coronavirus. Think about what would you have on hand. What would you want if you got the cold, the flu, anything else? If you got sick, if I'm comforted by certain teas, which I actually don't have some of my teas out here, but I love certain teas, so my Yogi bedtime tea. I love that. If there are things that comfort you, consider having those on hand. Again, we may not contract coronavirus during this time. Just be prepared, because it's also allergy season ramping up, and it's also still flu season. So I just want you to understand there's other things that you can still contract. Now, again, this is my Costco pack. This is the Zarbee's. I really love this. It's a cough syrup. It's cough syrup plus mucus. This 3-pack also has a nighttime cough suppressant in it as well. And it's got really great herbs in it. It's honey-based, so if you have a child under 1, nope. And remember, always contact your pediatrician, ask him if it's right for you. But this is something we have on hand, because if we get sick, I want my son to be able to have some cough relief. And you know what? Adults can use this too. You're just gonna have to use a lot more of it. Okay, so a few other things we have. We have the Beekeeper's Natural Throat Spray with propolis. Propolis is great for the immune system, but the real reason why we have this and the Biocidin throat spray is this really, really soothing for the throat. So if you end up with a sore throat, both of these can be beneficial. And this one, the Biocidin, it actually has antimicrobial properties. Now when we say antimicrobial, that means antivirus, antibacterial, antifungal. I am not saying that this has been studied and that this will treat coronavirus. Please, please, please do not misunderstand that. There's nothing in this video I'm telling you that I know can treat or prevent coronavirus, because we don't have the studies. It's just way too new. But what I like about this Biocidin is that it's not just a virus that we're concerned about right now. There's other things that we come into contact with. Now you'll see I've got a bunch of essential oils here. I don't work for doTERRA. I'm not a doTERRA rep. They were actually gifted to me. So thank you to my friends who gifted me this. One of the big reasons why I have essential oils on hand, like Serenity, is for stress. Like, listen, anxiety is going to be high right now. Even while you're watching this, you might feel anxious. And this is a way, I rub this on my hands, I sniff it, I take some deep breaths, and I do a reset. And I do this with my child as well. We do understand that some things like frankincense, and which is boswellia, and like oregano, some of these essential oils do have antimicrobial properties, and I'm diffusing them in the air. Am I doing this because I know this is a preventative measure for coronavirus? No, I'm not. And it's actually something that I am doing because it smells really nice, it keeps bugs away, and in addition, I know that it has that antimicrobial properties. If somebody straight up sneezes in my face, it doesn't matter how much essential oils is up in the air. If they've got coronavirus, I will be infected. So I just want you to really understand that. I see a lot of information about essential oils. I think they're great for relaxation. I think they're great for helping the nervous system. In terms of like, oh, just use essential oils and you'll be able to prevent or treat coronavirus, there is zero evidence of that. So please understand that. What we have studies that some of these certain herbs can be effective against flu virus and even other strains of coronavirus. We have no studies to show that they can be effective against COVID-19. So please, please, please understand that. And you might be eye rolling at me at this point, and you might be like, okay, yeah, lady, we get it. Like, we totally get it. But I just really, really want to walk a line here with you guys, and I really want to be clear in my communication. And if I mess something up, please help me. Drop it in the comments. Let me know, okay? We are all learning together, and I'm okay being wrong sometimes with things. We've all got to be okay being wrong so that we can learn better and do better in this situation. Okay, so some other stuff that we have. Now, adrenal support, adrenal calm. These are things that we take daily. My balance supplement, you don't want to see me without my balance supplement. My PMS will be off the chain. I will have, sorry dudes, I will have wicked periods. I will have swollen tender breasts. Like this is true for me. If you know there are things that are supporting you through your day-to-day life, once again, please make sure that you have those on hand. This is not an endorsement to say all y'all need to go out and buy balance. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is what I use, and it's really more to demonstrate that like we need to be supporting our gut health in my house. We are taking probiotics. Probiotics is supportive of the immune system. Supportive of the immune system, by the way, is not the same as people being like, we're gonna boost the immune system and we're gonna like force the immune system to have a huge attack. So listen, when it comes to, did you just see the bug? There was the bug. This is why I need the bug spray. So here's the thing, when it comes to coronavirus, there is the real potential for a cytokine storm, which is why we are being careful in not using things that push the immune system too hot, too heavy. Most herbs and supplements, that's not how they work. They don't work to throttle, like full force the immune system. They actually work to support the immune system in much of an adaptogenic way. So like how adrenal support has adaptogenic herbs to help with cortisol output, which cortisol is important in your immune system as well. And I'll be sharing more on that in the future. But all of this is to help your immune system do its job. So vitamin D, vitamin A, zinc, these things that you see here, they're immune supportive. It isn't like, oh, I get sick and now I just pile all these on. You actually want to be eating, focusing on food first, lifestyle, foods that are rich in zinc, vitamin A. Vitamin D is tricky. You gotta get out in the sun or you gotta supplement it if your levels are low. And I have resources from the Vitamin D Council at drbrighten.com to support you in all of that. But vitamin A, vitamin C, you find these in a lot of foods. drbrighten.com, you'll find resources on that as well. And if you are someone who's been found to be low in your blood work, then supplementation can be helpful in supporting your immune system. But I don't want you to think that like the second you get sick, you can just bring all these things in and that's going to cure coronavirus. There's zero evidence on that. And again, you might be like, we get it, but there are some people out there right now who don't get it, who are spreading information and saying, vitamin C is effective in treating coronavirus. There's zero studies to back that up. Is vitamin C essential for immune function, immune health? 100%, but we need to be doing it on a daily basis. Okay, so a few other things I just want to show you. I've got some turkey tail, and I've got some reishi from my friends. It's Super Feast. These are mushrooms that do help support the immune system. And when I get, I actually drink these every day, but when I get sick, these are things that like bring me comfort and make me feel better. So again, I want you to be thinking about like, you know, I have to say, Fork Sigmatic makes a cocoa powder that like, it's actually okay to have their hot cocoa while you're sick. We hear a lot about like, don't consume excess sugar when you're sick. Yeah, that's a good idea. It's always a good idea not to consume excess sugar, but you know, there's things like this that can bring you comfort, and that's important when we're in quarantine. Don't forget, the little rituals, the little things that bring you joy every day are just as important as having Neosporin and ibuprofen and all these other things. Okay, so that's actually why I have my Fork Sigmatic adaptogenic coffee. I'm gonna run out. I'm gonna own that. This is something I didn't prep so well for. I'm gonna run out of coffee. So this is Branch Basics concentrate. I actually love this. If you are concerned about endocrine disruptors, chemicals that are in your stuff, Branch Basics is your go-to. But right now, worry less about that. And we're going to talk about that with the food. We want to worry less about, like, listen, if you've been living this lifestyle where you're like, okay, we've lowered our environmental toxin burden and we eat this certain way, good work. If you haven't, don't worry about it. But right now, the most important thing is to be like short-term, what do I need? You've got a long game to still play here, okay? But why I point out this particular concentrate is because I can use this to wash my hands, wash my dishes, clean my sink, clean my counters. You guys are in my kitchen with me right now. Do my laundry. It's very, very universal. And so this is nice because I don't know about where you're at, but we don't have laundry detergent on the shelves anymore. We're running out of a lot of things. Like, we thankfully bought extra dish soap, but having this on hand is tremendous. This is my travel Berkey, my cute little travel Berkey, and I actually have a big Berkey that's behind all the cameras right now. But I'm seeing people buy up water like crazy, and like tons of water bottles. It's very, very hard to stock enough water if you think that's going to be your issue for your family, like, and not just take up all the space. So this is a water filter, and this is something that I invested in Berkey water filters. I don't work for the company, but I invested in buying my own years ago because it's just so tremendous to be able to put your water through it, have filtered water. So if you are somewhere and this is becoming a concern for you, again, I know I'm talking to a global audience. There's some people in the United States that might be like, water's not an issue. Is water going to be an issue? I have no reason to believe water's going to be an issue if water's never been an issue, but some people have already got a water issue. So that's why I'm showing my Berkey water filter, because many stores have sold out of their water, and getting bottled water can be difficult. This, I will put a link in. It's pretty inexpensive to purchase and to have on hand. There's the bigger Berkeys, but if finances are an issue, invest in the little Berkey. It's super easy to fill, and it can really help you in terms of filtering your water. Now, for my ladies, I bought tampons and I bought pads. I bought what I needed. I also have Thinx underwear on hand. There are lots of options out there that don't have products that are disposable, so utilize those if you can, but if you can't, be thinking about this. I actually was talking with some of my neighbors, and they hadn't thought through the fact that they have a period coming in a couple weeks, which, like, of course, right? We're trying to get ready for our entire family to be in a quarantine. I'm not thinking about the bleed coming in 2 weeks, but be ready and have it on hand just in the event that you need it. Let's move over to food. Okay, so like, for real, this isn't 2 weeks worth of food. And we've got way more food packed away because we, again, have been planning for this since February. I have a household of 3. You need to do math for your household, whatever size they are. But I want to point out some key things that actually, as I've seen people on the news and I've seen photos, people are just missing. They don't even realize they're missing some of the most nutrient-dense food. And if you don't follow me on social media and you're not familiar with me, I'm Dr. Jolene Brighten, by the way, and what I'm going over with you now is what I went over with the Dr. Brighten team today. And, pointing out some key nutrient-dense foods that they can have in their house and things that are very economical so you can buy in bulk. Yes, rice and beans is economical, but rice and beans can get old, so what else can we be doing? So one thing I want to say is that I can't show here because I actually don't have a whole chicken. If you're a vegan or vegetarian, listen, you do you, okay? But right now I'm trying to provide general information. There is an acute crisis situation happening. It's called a pandemic, and I want to make sure that people are taken care of. So if right now you're vegan or vegetarian and you want to hate on me for talking about chicken, just please take a breath and hold some grace and some space for the entire global community trying to mount a response that's appropriate and flatten the curve. I am not saying that everybody should eat meat, and I'm not saying everyone should be a vegan or vegetarian, and I'm not judging you, so please don't judge me. So here's the deal. Getting a whole chicken can be great because you can cook the whole chicken, you can freeze some of the meat, and then you can eat the meat, but you can also make bone broth from the bones. Now you can freeze the bones if you don't have time, or you can make bone broth from it. The other thing that I do, because I believe in as little waste as possible, this is what happens when you grow up in food scarcity and poverty as a child, is that when I cut onions, carrots, garlic, celery, there's always those pieces that you cut off and you're going to discard. Instead, I stick them in the freezer. And even onion skins I throw in there. When the bag's full, I throw it into a pot with my frozen chicken bones, and I make a batch of bone broth. And I've got a resource at drbrighten.com for making your own bone broth. Bone broth is very nutrient dense, and it has things in it that support your overall health, but also your immune health as well. And a warm cup of broth can be so nice when you're sick. So I just want to offer that tip. Okay, now a couple of things you may not have thought of besides rice and beans, I see everybody packing up on those, is actually buying seeds to sprout. So seeds are incredibly nutrient dense and economical, but so what we actually have here, this is the broccoli seeds. I almost said the sunflower seeds. Obviously this is these ones. You're gonna zoom in and be like, those are the sunflower seeds. So sunflower seeds and broccoli seeds to sprout. I'm also getting other seeds to sprout. You can sprout these in a paper towel. You can get sprouters on Amazon. I can link to the one that we use if you're interested in that. And so sprouting microgreens, they're incredibly nutrient dense. So nuts and seeds are also really nutrient dense and economical to purchase. I've got my Brazil nuts here. I'm going to continue seed cycling. Yes, we want to fresh ground flax seeds, but you know what? We're going to work with the best we've got right now. And that's what's more important, is being gentle with yourself and fueling yourself. These flax seeds, along with the chia seeds that I have, yes, they're nutrient dense, and at the same time, they're going to support gut health, and they're going to keep my family regular, which is also important. Because again, we want to be thinking about our day-to-day life as well and how to overall support our health. Now we've got lentils, those keep really well. Of course, we've got beans, we've got pasta, dried goods. Something that people are not thinking about is canned salmon. I got this one from Trader Joe's, and then sardines as well. These are really nutrient dense, they're cheap, and they're not selling out like everything else. And they're gonna be rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which are anti-inflammatory. They support a ton of things. I'll link an article for you. Don't forget about nut butters. Nut butters are not only nutrient dense, but like nuts and seeds, they can be calorically dense as well. And so nut butters keep really well, and this is something that I've been telling my patients, good idea to have on hand, and that we're personally having on hand. I actually bought mushrooms that are dehydrated, so think about dehydrated things as well. I can rehydrate these, put them into soups, put them into dishes, so thinking about dehydrated items can also be really helpful. We've got quinoa, we've also got rice, and then, we also considered, let's pick up some pancake and waffle mix. We use birch benders because that works well for what we have going on in our family, but just so that during this time, my son can have some pancakes and have some fun things to mix it up. What's not featured here is chocolate. We probably should have. I should have my bags of chocolate. There's not bags. I've got a couple bags of chocolate bites, and it's just little things like that that can get you through this time and not feel like you're so bogged down. So listen, I hope this helps. If there's anything you would add to this list, please just drop it in the comments below. Let's build a resource here. And I also want to remind you that while I am a doctor, I'm not your doctor. So please consult your doctor before making any diet or supplement or medication changes. And remember, these things, I'm not endorsing any one company telling you that this is what you need to buy, or that anything here should be construed as prevention or treatment of coronavirus. This is general information only, and I'm showing you some of the basics of how my family got started and really prepared so that I can stimulate you to think about what you and your family may need as well. So I would love to hear from you in the comments. Please let me know. And if you haven't subscribed, you're not following yet, definitely do that, because I'm going to be sharing more information in the days to come, including how not to lose your mind, how to reduce stress, and all kinds of tips and benefits that can really help you during this time. I'm Dr. Jolene Brighten, and I want to thank you so much for being a part of this video and for watching it all the way through.